Hey guys, Ryan Gill here with Hunt Primitive, and today we're going to make an arrowhead out of a piece of KnapEasy, but this is actually a piece that's got kind of a few problems in it, and this is actually going to be the sister video. We're going to put basically two out at the same time, so I'll be able to share the thumbnail up on the screen for you, and that's going to be kind of what to expect when working KnapEasy, because now at this point we've calculated it out to where we've done over 7,000 pieces of KnapEasy, so we got a pretty good handle on what to expect. And so that video is going to talk about some pieces that might have curvature or chipped corners or that kind of stuff, and I really wanted to show you working through it, because something like this, it's not a throwaway. Okay, so you can see the difference between, this is the standard piece of KnapEasy here, and they pretty much all have some cupping. It's just part of the manufacturing process, and it's not a big deal to remove this. We've shown it in the other KnapEasy videos. And then this side has the turtleback side, but all the platforms that we use to dry flakes. So remember, this isn't slab material. This, you have to actually biface and work this out like real rock. But that's the standard piece. So I wanted to take one that some people might look at and not be quite happy with, but remember that this stuff is made for, or this specific size, now we do have some bigger sizes coming too, this specific size is meant for making arrowheads, and there's absolutely still an arrowhead in there. There's a lot of extra material on these for making arrowheads. In fact, whenever I personally make arrowheads for me out of KnapEasy, I don't even take the big full pieces. I usually take ones that kind of ended up broken, so I don't have to remove as much material. So trust me, there's a ton of material, and I'm going to show you that the curvature, you can see how much dipping and warping is in this one, and that's not a big deal. So that's why I'm going to take this one today, and we're going to turn it into a really good hunting point. That initial look of having that heavy concave belly or propeller twisting or warping, it really wasn't a big deal at all. We eliminated that in seconds. Alright, so let's get started. So again, as you can see, this one's got quite a bit of warping and curvature to it, and it's not a problem at all, and I'll just show you how to work through it. In fact, sometimes these are actually going to be easier to work because they're giving you heavier platforms to run across initially. So remember, you're just going to draw kind of like a mental straight line right down through it. So we're just going to get rid of this edge here pretty quick. I think this is one I'll be attacking and getting rid of it. And then the whole thing kind of straightens out after that. So pretty simple. Remember, you don't have to take very big hits with this at all. It's nice gentle taps. Runs nice flakes. So yep, if you're one of those people that sees something like that and feels like you got sent junk or a problem, that's not the case at all. Every piece of this that we send out is hand, like it has to be picked up and worked by hand. So if it doesn't make the grade, it doesn't go. So even if you have stuff that has some curvature to it, trust me, there's an arrowhead in it, and that's exactly, again, what this size spall is for making arrowheads. And in fact, when you get pretty good at it, you'll come to find out that there actually are a little bit big for making arrowheads still, because you have to remove more material. So there is quite a bit of room for error even with curvature. But you can see that already. Look how we took that out. And let me compare that again here really quick to another one that's got quite a bit. This one's got quite a bit of dishing. Actually, this is more of the standard, but it does have a decent amount of dishing, but it doesn't take long to get rid of it. Let me grab another one here that's maybe got some more bigger problems. Here's another one, and that's about how it started. So remember, we had that about that much curvature into it, and that's all it took. It was just a little bit of tapping, and we were able to get rid of it. So let's just keep on going. So, and then as we've worked that curvature out of it just that fast, that's literally all it took. You guys watched it in real time. It gives us an opportunity to start building some of these platforms. So little short choppy flakes. I'll braid that. It might take a couple more right here. There we go. This is actually a brand new color. I haven't settled on the name yet, but I will have to settle on it because I got to put it on the website later today and make it available. And some of it's got a little bit more of like, it's definitely got more of an orangey yellow color. You're gonna see some in the future that's gonna have some reds and such. Let me look we go. To give you a little bit better idea, you can see it's got more red streaking in it. Here's a piece here. It's going to have definitely some more red and yellow streaking. Remember, every piece is a little bit different too, so this one's a little bit more bland color, and that's to be expected sometimes as well. I'm not exactly sure on the name yet, leaning towards something like Desert Sands or maybe Painted Desert, or I don't know, it's just kind of got a deserty look to me. How about you? I don't know. But either way, it should be available soon. So anyway, I raised that platform, working that turtle back, and whoop, didn't get that one. There we go. Keep in mind too, guys, that part of this, you'll see that there's sometimes some remnants of other ones, other pieces that are stuck, and those are sharp little buggers right there. So be real careful when you're working. You open these up and grab a hold of that. This stuff, it's sharp, just like natural rock, because it essentially is just not natural, it's man-made. But it's the same exact stuff, it's just a really high quality material. Ooh, that was a pretty one. Look at that nice color in there. Okay, I didn't run it all the way as far as I could have and would have liked to, but we'll catch up and we'll get it worked out. A little bit of convexity here, so I'm not going to hit that platform yet. Let's work on this one. But now you can at least see too that initial look of having that heavy concave belly or propeller twisting or warping, it really wasn't a big deal at all. We eliminated that in seconds. There we go. I hope that bit of color in there stays. That's a nice streak. I like that one. But we'll get this bifaced out here pretty quick, and then we'll get into the notching and sharpening stage and kind of push this one through a little bit quicker for you guys. We might even skip some of the final prep. Some of these videos do end up running a little bit long, and as I always say, if it's your first time watching flint knapping, or you're just getting started, I'm not explaining a whole heck of a lot. I am pointing out some platforms that I'm working on, but I'm not explaining everything perfectly because I already have some really good beginner videos. So I've got the original flint knapping for beginners video, and I'll put a link, or I'll put the thumbnail up on the screen, and all you have to do is go here at YouTube, go to the search bar and type in flint knapping for beginners, or hunt primitive flint knapping for beginners, and you'll find it. And then I also have another one that I more recently did, which was beginner fundamentals, and both of those are really, really good videos, and they have helped a lot of people learn how to flint knap. So that'll break down and explain all the different angles that I'm using to hit. Okay, so we'll get back to at least working through, and I'll point a few more things out as I go. So this was the convex side. We still have just a little bit more to get through here, but I'm not in a rush. I'll probably attack it from this side. I'm not in a rush to get that taken care of yet because I still have a little bit of turtle backing here, and this is probably one of my higher spots, so I think I'm going to work this corner platform up. This is still way bigger than the actual arrowhead size that we want. You're going to be looking not much wider than my finger, and probably not much longer than that second knuckle. So we have a ton. It'll be a little bit wider than my finger, but not much. We got a ton of material here to still work with. So we're going to raise this platform up by taking the little choppy flakes off the bottom side, which raises the platform. Okay, see, we moved the center line over to this platform. So remember, your platform's got to be on the same side as the flake that you're trying to remove. So now I'm going to braid that off pretty well. You guys will also probably find if you've worked the white in the past compared to the color, the original white video we talked about, you had to abrade it really, really, really well, especially in pressure flaking. And you still have to abrade this decently well, but the color actually stiffens it up a little bit, so you don't have to abrade quite as much as you used to on the standard white. In fact, we might actually be getting rid of the white in the future, maybe just doing some once in a while, because the colors are doing so well. So anyway, that was that platform that we had just set up. Raised that platform, hit it here, and we ran that one across center. And oftentimes I have to remind folks too, if you want to thin a piece, if you actually want to get a piece thin, you have to drive flakes past center. If you only drive them to center, you're just building a mountain in the middle of your piece. So you have to set out platforms and it won't get any thinner. So you have to drive across center in order to actually thin your piece. So that's a great little thinning flake right there. Now I'm going to jump ahead over here because we got a couple high spots. I hope that color doesn't come out, but I guess it might. That's the nature of it. We drove another one. There's a couple little tiny air pockets. You'll see some air pockets once in a while, especially on some of these multicolored pieces. It's just part of the process a little bit, but they're not a big deal. They're just little pinholes. There we go. We knocked that one. It does stink. It looks like we're getting rid of that bit of color, but there might be some more in here we haven't even uncovered yet. So now I'm switching back to the convex side of the original spall. When we started, you can still see there's just a little bit of a channel of that ribbing, and we're going to drive across or into that right now, and then once we've started to kind of peak it a little bit, then we'll be able to come back in and actually drive some across it. And that's one of the things too that I personally love about these original shaped spalls, is because they teach you to actually flint knap. And I don't have a problem with people that just work slabs, but slabs aren't going to teach you how to work abstract percussion, but these will. So these are all the same issues you're going to have in a natural rock, and these will teach you how to deal with each of those problems individually. And for those that continue to ask, I don't think I already mentioned it in this one, but yes, larger pieces are on the way. In fact, depending on when you're watching this, if you're late to the party, they might already be out, but we do have larger, starting from this size and then getting larger, and different shapes as well. So be on the lookout for those. It'll be at least another few weeks or month or so from now, I bet, until those are ready. So if you want to get some of this new color or some of the other colors and try that out in the meantime, go for it. These will again still probably end up being your cheaper option because they're smaller and more arrowhead size pieces. Alright, there we go. So now that's the convex side. We're almost to the center, but I'm not going to worry about it now. We're going to go ahead and flop back over to this side, and I'm going to work some of this back over. In fact, I'm going to do some choppy flakes. We still have a ton of material here. I'm actually half tempted to not even make an arrowhead out of it. I've been doing a lot of atlatl videos lately, so I may just even turn it into an atlatl point if I want. We'll see how I feel when I get going. You guys already know what I'm going to make because you would have seen the thumbnail and me possibly show it at the beginning of the video, but I'm still in the, it's like a weird time warp. You guys are watching it and know exactly what I'm making, and I have no idea yet, other than it'll be a killing point of some sort. There we go. Nice gentle pops. Okay, still got a little bit of a turtleback thing going on there. Again, not a big deal. Got plenty of room to work here. I can probably start to slow down and actually plan a little bit now. There we go. That was a nice one. Ran that one over center. That was on the convex side. So that was the first flake then that we've got that ran past center and over top of that what was originally a dip. But so remember how I kind of mounded it up first. You can, if you really look down at it, you can see it's got convexity now where it used to be yeah, it used to be concave. Now it actually has a lenticular shape, a convex shape. And that's because as we work these sides down, it basically turned our lows into our highs. And once they turn into highs, now we can actually run flakes across them. Like that one too. That one went just beyond center, which was perfect. And I got one more here. And it's time to start using the XL pressure flaker. We're going to grind that edge down a little bit to raise that platform. And then, hope I didn't. There we go. I was starting to get a little bit of a small platform. Just ran it right across the rest of that was left on that that concave side. Perfect. Okay, so that one's looking pretty good. I can still probably get one more out of here or so, but I'm not going to push it yet because once I grind some of this down, I don't mind having some of this mass here to clean up. There's a little bit up here at the tip. I think I might go ahead and grind some of that down. But see, even one that had that propeller twist when we stopped, that was very similar to this one. I am still at a point where I'm at lattice point size on this right now. Now, obviously, I've been flint knapping a long time, and I don't make as many mistakes as I used to. Now, it still happens, and now that I say that, I probably will make some sort of mistake and bust a corner off or bust it in half or who knows what all. But you can see that there's still the potential of a pretty darn large point. This is too big to put on an arrow. You know, you have to work this down into something significantly smaller to put on an arrow. This is at lattice size. We could clean this up here pretty good, notch it, and it'd be good to go for an at lattice point. But for now, let's just go ahead and clean up a little bit more, and then I'll make that final decision as we get closer if I want it to be an at lattice or an arrow point. Right now, it certainly doesn't hurt to have more at lattice points because I've been out at lattice hunting. And if you've watched one of the last videos that I put out, I might as well share the thumbnail for that one. You're missing out on it. It was a really good one. At lattice and javelin hunting video. One of them that we'll be working on this summer. Okay, so now this side's looking really good. That was our initial concave side. Okay, so then this was the turtleback side, and I've got a little hingy step fracture thing there, a tiny one here, which isn't a big deal, and then this is kind of our last remaining turtleback spot. So we're gonna raise this platform again by removing flakes off of this side to raise the platform. So I'm just kind of, I wouldn't say I'm crushing at this point, but I'm not trying to drive flakes in. I'm just trying to drive flakes kind of in and down a little bit to curl up the platform so we can then turn it over and hit flakes off of this side. But yeah, I kind of like the color of this material. It wasn't one of my favorites to start with, and then some people behind the scenes saw the color and they were like, man, I really like that color. I wasn't sure that I was really going to run with it. It seemed like almost a little boring to me. And people were like, man, I really like that color. And so I was like, well, then I will absolutely make it. Here we go. Perfect. Okay, this is the one spot that I was wanting to really make sure that I drove a flake across, and I did. And I got one more I can probably get. Let's hope I get it. I got it. That's looking great. Let's go ahead and do the same thing to the other side just to raise the platform. Start truing this tip up just a tiny bit as well. Let's see, I do have one spot here that I'm not in love with. So I'm actually going to back chip that the other way, and I'm going to leave this platform, and then there's one little one right here. And I find that one annoying, So I'm going to set up my indirect, and we're actually going to hit that with some indirect here in a second. Okay, so that's where I got one over here, and then I got this little bit at the tip. So I'll go ahead and just tap that tip off now. I'm going to hit it with that. Couple little taps. Again, remember, you don't need a very big bite with the KnapEasy. You're just going to get just on top of the platform, pick up, and then tilt it back like an 1/8 or a 1/16 of an inch. And we drove that flake all the way over to here. So nice, easy. Don't have to get after it very hard. Now that's that one there I didn't like, so I wanted to, that's what got me to bust out the indirect to begin with. Whew. Might have almost made a mistake. There we go. Drove that one. You can see it finished out over here. Might be able to pick it off so you can see, but it went all the way to there. Here we go. There we go. Well, got half of it. The rest will come off later. I'm going to braid that, and I'm going to hit that one again right next to it. Very good. And I got maybe one or two more. Might as well run while I'm holding it. The indirect definitely is a game changer for some of your final flint nap and stuff. Look at that one there. So that ran across center too. Definitely helps you get them thin. Once you get the hang of indirect, I do have a video on that too about some people have problems with indirect. And if you type in the YouTube search bar, Hunt Primitive Indirect Percussion, it should pop up, but it's, I don't know, it's named something like indirect, having trouble with indirect, let's work on it. And we talk specifically just about indirect work and how to get your angles better and start running better flakes. Okay, I think that's enough of that for the moment. I'm going to swap back to a little bit of direct percussion for at least a few minutes. Thin that out. See, I took a little bit of an extra chunk out of it. It was a little bit too much, which isn't the end of the world. So we still had plenty of room to work with here. I'm getting a little aggressive, trying to go too fast. And it's made me just make that little step fracture a little bit worse. I was doing well on it. Again, it's not the end of the world. It's still a very serviceable point. But I like to try to do as good a work as I can. And I am half tempted to take that and start just using that as a notch, actually. So it'd be more of an atlatl point size notch. It'll give me the opportunity, I'll be able to come in here and kind of clean that up maybe a little bit with the micro flaker. Yeah, a little bit. It's not really the end of the world it being on there. Might be a slightly ugly spot, but other than that, it is kind of the start of a good atlatl point notch. We'll keep going. We'll decide. I'll braid that off and take probably a good pressure flake or two. If you get a good abraded platform, you can definitely run some good pressure flakes off of it. This will be interesting to see if I can actually pressure flake under and across that step fracture I was just working on. Half tempted to hit it with indirect. Just hit it and made it kind of worse. But if you make it worse and actually make it bad enough, then you can get that micro flaker on it. So actually what I'm going to do, with that in mind, I'm not so worried about that notch. I can always make a new one of those. I'm going to get out the indirect and I'm going to try to run right underneath that. I did on that one. Let's see if I got one more in me. Nope, made it worse again. That's alright. We might actually be able to catch it from the other side. That'd be fun, wouldn't it? It'd be a long throw to get that from the other side. Let's try it. Got nothing to lose. Still got a ton of material for an arrowhead. And I could leave it on there and still put that on an atlatl and huck it into a hog and it would be just fine, but why not work through a problem and then show you guys working through it? Good opportunity, isn't it? Maybe I can get it, maybe I can't. And I suppose if I really wanted to make sure I got it, and I was working arrowhead size, I would just go ahead and work this all the way over to my final arrowhead dimensions, which would be like almost all the way to here. And then it would be not a problem to run across. So it's just good practice for trying to run some long indirect percussion flakes. Alright, let's see here. Where can we start? We don't want to start right on it because we want to have some relief flakes first. So we either want to start behind it or in front of it. And let's start behind it just a little. There we go. Let's get that resuited. That's looking pretty good. Actually, that did kind of give me enough of a relief. I think I can go ahead and take one on it. Let's see if we can do it. Look at that. Ran it all the way across. I didn't take it all out, but I took almost all of it with that one hit. Isn't that cool? Alright, so now I got one more there. I'm not seeing it going all the way because I actually have a little bit to take off of this side first, so let's not rush that one yet. In fact, I'm going to pressure flake that. Let's see, that worked out really well. And by coming along and pressure flaking a nice row, it's raising this platform, so I actually will get a better hit. There we go. Tell you what though, that KnapEasy material will definitely spoil you after a little while because it is really consistent from piece to piece. So when you figure it out, it's a lot easier than most natural rocks. Which, I mean, that's a good thing, but you kind of forget sometimes that working, especially some raw cherts and stuff, can be a lot tougher. Didn't do very good on that one. There we go. There we go, look at that, ran that one. Actually ran it at an angle and took it out all the rest of the way. Everything that was the next one here already took it out, and actually there's almost a reverse hinge now, or a reverse step fracture on this side, which is nothing. We'll pressure flake that off super easy. See, so you can drive some great flakes with indirect, and a lot safer than with direct and percussion trying to drive all the way across that. So that's looking really good now. Shoot, we might be done with indirect. It might just be a cleanup job. I might take some indirect off this side when I get cleaned up, but now I'm going to got some nice little flake scars. I'm just going to turn it over and a couple cleanup pressure flakes. Got a little bit of like undercutting. And I just want to take that out. Here it got kind of crunchy. Means you got to braid. I want nice, as clean a clicks as I can get. You might get a little bit of crunching here and there, but if you got too much crunching, make sure you braid good. There we go. Nice clean click. Now as far as an arrowhead goes, I mean still a ton of material. I would take all of this off at this point. So even with that, again, reminder, there you go, we started with one that looked just like that. A ton of material. So we got a lot to work with. And I know when you're just starting out that may not be the case, but there's plenty there to make some mistakes. There we go. Getting that trued up. Now you can see we got a little bit of ugly spot with some step fractures there at the tip. I'm going to braid a opposite direction that I want to take the flakes off of. Really stiffen that up, and then I'm going to start behind it because there's kind of a step fracture right on it, so I don't want to hit that right away. I'm going to just back up just a little bit, get us a relief flake going. That one's really nice. And now actually I kind of want to step back and hit behind it again, just because I'm feeling it. There we go. I should have abraded on that one. Got just a tiny little step right there. That's no big deal. We can microflake that one off in a bit. Alright, let's take that tip down. That's good. One more. Probably more than one more, but that looks good. Just walking it down. Walking it right down the tip. There we go. Got to be careful with the tip too. You don't get pushing too hard. You'll round it right off the other side or snap the tip. So nice stiff, not too stiff, but a nice stiff platform. And I kind of roll, less pushing with my pressure flaker and more of almost like I grab it and then I roll. So see how that rolled? See, and I still ended up running it over the other side because I'm using too big a pressure flaker. That's okay though. Still plenty of room. I'm sure I would have cleaned all that up on the other side anyway. Okay. I'm going to switch to the back again. Now I'm going to go the other side. A couple nice long flakes. Long pressure flakes. There we go. That's a nice one. And we got one more. I'm going to try to reach up here. There's just a tiny little something right there. It's no big deal if it stays, but might as well try. Got some of it. There we go. I got even more of it. Might as well take a little bit more. Alright, that's looking really good. This little tip, and just knock that whole thing off. Okay, then here's this side that we kind of goofed on, so I'm going to grind some of it, stiffen that platform, true it up a little bit. So we erase that overshot real fast. Okay, again, same thing, just a nice gentle twisting at the tip. Not too much pressure. That's looking good. And then coming back, a couple clicks. See, I made a couple mistakes and started with that curved one. And I'm still way too big for an arrowhead. Looking good though. Looking real good. Braid that whole side. Got a little bit too much on that one. Just a little too hard of a bite. I should probably start thinking about switching over to the smaller copper flaker. This one it's allowing me to get a big bite, and sometimes you take a chunk out like I did back there. Got to slow down sometimes and remind yourself that you don't have to muscle through it. You know, sometimes you're just kind of whittling away at it. You know, it's not all about getting, you know, all these wonderful big hits. In fact, that is a little bit of an issue that I'm seeing. It's just for entertainment purposes, and I know that, so I'm not harping on anybody. But so, like, a lot of the guys that are doing the short reels, short films like Facebook or Instagram, and a lot of them are doing the, let's make an arrowhead real quick, as they're showing you all like the really coolest hits, the big flake removal. And I think it gets people in that rush mode, and they're like, oh, it's just every hit should be like that. And it's like, it actually shouldn't. A lot of flit napping is a little slower and more boring, and you're just nibbling away at the piece. Sometimes you set up and get some big ones, but those are almost the more dangerous ones anyway. If you have the ability to just kind of nibble away at the piece of rock, and set up platforms and then drive some of your thinning flakes, you actually be a little bit more successful. So it might be giving people the wrong impression on some of those short ones, but on the side, I don't think that those are a bad thing anyway, because honestly, I think they're probably getting more people interested in flit napping in general. But those aren't really meant to be, they're not really meant to be instructional videos as much as entertainment. But I'm all for it though, because the more people get interested in flit napping, the happier I am. I've always hoped that it would be a little bit more popular, get more people hunting with stone points, and then next thing you know, it starts to normalize a little bit and the laws get a little bit more relaxed in some places. Actually, I had a long-time follower send me a message last week. He has the opportunity to write up a bill, I think in Minnesota, to get stone points legalized there. And that's happened now at a couple states, that they've been able to use either my videos or my secrets and science books as evidence, and to go in and actually get state laws changed to allow stone points. So there's been a few states that have actually changed that law, or even changed the regulations within it by decreasing the point size required or something like that. So, some states are still just kind of knuckleheads about it, but you're not going to be able to win them all, especially overnight. But this shouldn't even be a law. This should be a human right to be able to just make and hunt with this kind of stuff. So anyway, here's where we're at with this. This is actually still a lot bigger than I would want it to be for an arrowhead. So I have the choice. I can just continue to work it down, or I can finish it out, make an atlatl point, and it's actually a little bit, honestly, it's almost a little bit on the big side a little bit on the small side for what I've been throwing with atlatls lately. I've been really stretching them out and getting them a little bit wider. But I think what I am going to go ahead and do is run a corner notch on this and just start shooting for an atlatl size point, as opposed to you're just going to see me reduce it otherwise. So we might as well just get it into the final stages here pretty soon. I mean, you don't need to see me just reducing it and reducing it and reducing it. Plus, I guess it doesn't hurt to show that, even with that warped piece that we started with, there was still plenty to get. And I made a couple of mistakes, and there was still plenty of material to get a larger point out. So, just kind of nibbling away at that. Just kind of nibbling all the way around. I don't want to nip my corners yet, so I'm just kind of grinding my way in until I get a good platform like that I can actually take a chip out of. So not every flake is going to be a good chip. Sometimes they're just little crushing flakes until I can get a good platform and a good bite. But yeah, the color definitely is more forgiving. Having the additives, the added minerals that change color, tend to stiffen up the overall material just a little bit. And so they sharpen a little easier, they notch a little easier, they don't need quite as much abrading to pressure flake, and so that's why I think we're starting to push away from the white, because the white's actually not, it's a little cheaper to put together for sure, but it's actually not as good as the color, not because of the way it looks, but also its knapping quality is just a little bit better. It's looking good. I want to reach in here with the micro flaker and see if I can get this one. There we go. Usually notch arrowheads with the micro flaker, but sometimes you get in there and get just a little bit deeper and more precise with the micro. I think that's sufficient. Doesn't have to be perfect. That's plenty for one side. I'm going to go ahead and just do the other side. You guys have seen me knap that before. I'm going to sit here and do it on camera anyway, but there's a very good chance that I'm just going to fast forward through it. If something eventful happens, then I'll stop and show you. But for the most part, I'm going to speed it up and get this done. Alright, so that notched out pretty good, and you didn't have to sit through the second one. And that worked out pretty darn nice. So now what I'm going to do is sharpen this up. Now, as far as sharpening, if I'm running an atlatl point like this one, I'm not looking for those really tiny serrations like I am with arrows, because the arrows just don't have as much power so they compared to an atlatl, and so we really have to be very mindful of how much drag we're putting on an arrow point, where the atlatl I'm going to notch with my copper flaker, not the micro flaker. And I don't mind having them a little bit bigger. In fact, I mean, this would still work for an arrowhead too, especially if you're running antler. But if we're using modern tools and the micro flaker, then for arrowheads, then we'll use it. But on these ones, I kind of like to have a little bit more aggressive and angry serrations. And then also, once I start getting a couple that are pretty sharp, all I'm going to do is come back and just touch them up, as opposed to, you don't necessarily have to do a full row up and down with the atlatl stuff. I almost kind of start implementing more of the archaic single bevel sharpening in some instances. So right now that one's fine. That one looks great. It feels good. A lot of nice little sharp tips on that. That's going to do a lot of damage. You can see I just didn't put nearly as much time into getting that really refined edge like I will with an arrowhead. And that's what you see archaeologically too, that your atlatl points, they're not quite as refined, and they don't really need to be. They can kind of be big and mean and gnarly. I mean, it's getting delivered with a spear that's got quite a bit of momentum behind it. And so you actually do want them a little bit more robust. If they were really thin little pieces, more likely to break. So this is kind of just a good atlatl size point in general. I could definitely go a little bit wider depending on what I was planning on spearing with it, but honestly I would have no problem at all spearing everything from a hog all the way up to a bison with this. No questions asked. In fact, we've killed bison with points smaller than this. As big as my pinky finger, or even as big as just the tip of my index finger, and you can see that we're wider yet than that. So that's really good. I could get away with some more width, especially for like hog, or if we were allowed to hunt deer in Florida, that would, with the atlatl, that would be along the same lines. We could definitely get away with a little bit more width for those animals. You don't want too much width when you're talking about something the size of either like a really big boar or a bison or something, because it will, it will slow down some of your penetration to have that too big of a point. And we're starting to push the envelope on a few things. But anyway, that's it. It's done. One final test here to make sure. Oh yeah, you can see it making all these like little micro cuts in me. Got to be careful. It's not hard to get cut up on it. In fact, actually, got a spot here I am going to take the microflaker. I might have made some of these serrations a little smaller than I originally intended. So I do want to liven some of those up just a little bit. Right there, that's what I was looking for. Got one spot right here in the middle that's just a little blunt and fussy. There we go. And one more right there. Oh yeah, that's much better. Much better. One right there in the back, I bet. Perfect. Yeah, I kind of wish they were more like this larger side here. This one was perfect. I guess I wasn't paying as much attention. Almost doing it as if it was doing an arrowhead, but it's still perfectly fine. I just wouldn't mind seeing a little bit more aggressive toothing on this one side, but it's plenty sharp. So alright, that's it. Now you saw it. We started with something that had a lot of twist in it and a lot of concave belly, and we had no problem straightening it out. Just in seconds we straightened it out and turned that perfectly straight, thin, and sharp KnapEasy point out of that. Doesn't get any better than that. Alright guys, follow along for more of this stuff, and don't forget to check out the hunting videos. Hope this helped you. And hey, thanks for all the support with the KnapEasy product and tools and all that kind of stuff. Again, you can get it all at huntprimitive.com.